A customer came to me with a request to build a display box for a large knife her son had received for Christmas. Follow along as I show you the process I used to complete this project. Know, understand, and follow the safety instructions for your equipment, and don't do something just because you see a guy on the internet do it. The material I used for this project was some leftover poplar. I had several pieces that were already about a half an inch thick, and one 1-inch portion that I had to resaw to get the final stock needed for the sides and bottom. Over at the chop saw, I set up a stop to cut each of the sides to length. Back over to the table saw to cut a slot for the glass. Then once again I set up over at the chop saw and cut the bottom to length. I used a scrap of melamine to create a flat surface to clamp the bottom panel together while gluing. I used my table saw fence as a straight edge to line up the side pieces. A couple of strips of painter's tape is all that's needed if your miter joints are tight. I placed some tape along the inside of the miters to keep from squeeze out getting where it should not be. And yes, I missed one. I used an additional piece of painter's tape to hold the top together while the glue set up in the miters, leaving the top piece off so that I can slip the glass in later. Speaking of glass, here I am cutting to width and length. A few strips of painter's tape on the glass will prevent the table saw table from scratching the surface. Then finally, install the top and use a couple of pieces of painter's tape to secure it while the glue dries. After the body of the case is dry, I took the glued up panel from earlier and attached it to the bottom. Then I used a flush trim bit to trim the bottom with the sides. With my router table, I eased all the edges and corners. A quick sand. Then use the table saw to separate the two halves of the box. I used some spray adhesive to stick some sandpaper on a block to sand out the imperfections so the top would meet perfectly. Then I marked and pre-drilled for all of the hardware. For these small brass screws, it's important to use a hand driver so that you don't over-tighten them. I located, pre-drilled, installed, and test fit all of the hardware. This may seem tedious, but a mess up now means you start all over. screws were so small in this latch, I had to raid my eyeglass repair kit to find a small enough screwdriver. I used green painter's tape to protect the glass from the finish. Again, another tedious process, but well worth it. If you keep the finish off the glass, it makes cleanup later so much easier. Put it on both sides of the glass since we're finishing inside the box as well. I promise we're coming into the home stretch. Here I'm just disassembling all the hardware so that I can apply the finish. For a finish, I used Danish oil. The first coat was the clear or natural Danish oil, followed up by a second coat with the dark walnut stain added in. I will often start with the clear Danish oil first, then the tinted Danish oil so that it does not sink in or soak in too much. The customer stopped by with the fabric to line the box and the actual knife. Unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to film the process, but it's very simple. You just trace around the object with a marker on the foam, cut out the shape, and then cover the foam with the fabric, and I usually secure it on the back with some pieces of tape. While talking with the customer, we also decided to build this little stand which keeps the knife sitting upright so that it's more on display. I also created a little clasp to hold the knife secure in the box so that it didn't fall forward against the glass or into the bottom. Hopefully you enjoyed this project. Please like, share, and subscribe, and visit my website, recycled-creations.com.